What's up guys, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are good. I hope you guys are great. And first things first, I'd like to wish you guys a happy new year. Shout out to you for surviving 2020 and making it into 2021. I'm grateful that you guys made it, and I hope you guys had a really nice new year. I hope you had a safe one. I hope you guys were doing the most. But yeah, shout out to you. Here's to new beginnings and here's to a new year. So since it is the new year, I wanted to get onto the topic of goals and stuff like that, because we know that during the new year we're all like setting our goals, we're all writing down our plans, we're all making our cute little vision boards and stuff like that. But I don't know if we've all noticed, guys, that New Year's resolutions don't tend to really stick or last that long. And I'm not trying to call anyone out, I'm not trying to put anyone on blast, but I can personally genuinely attest to this, because obviously throughout my life I've been like, quote unquote setting goals, never stick to them. But also in 2020 I did reach some of my goals, but then with other goals I was like, I don't feel like doing this, or I just lost that motivation like halfway through the year, and yeah, they kind of just died at some point. But luckily, one thing I did like halfway throughout 2020 was that focusing and building healthy habits and routines are more important than trying to like focus or reach this like end product, which is aka the goal. Okay, so let's focus on goals versus habits. So I've been reading this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I'm sure that you guys have heard of this book. If you haven't, then I definitely recommend that you read the book and check it out, because it's really top shelf. And in the beginning of the book, it kind of dives into the idea of goals versus habits, and why focusing on habits and routines is actually more important than focusing on goals. Okay, so let's actually think about it, guys. Goals are just momentary changes that kind of like restrict our happiness to the moment of actually achieving that goal. So let me give an example, right? So let's say it's my goal to get a distinction for one of my tests at school, right? So I get the distinction, yay, I'm happy, but like I'll literally only be happy most probably for that moment, or at most the rest of the day. When the next day rolls over, I'm back to square one. The stresses of life are back on my neck, and I kind of don't have that happiness or that feeling that I had, that I kind of restricted to the success of my test. And then also think about it, on the other hand, if I didn't get that distinction, I'd be sad, I'll be miserable. I mean, that's not a bad thing, but it's like banking so much of my happiness on achieving a certain thing kind of doesn't seem like a good approach to things. And like, don't get me wrong, obviously I know that life isn't all about being positive, happy vibes, I understand that and I get that, but like, why restrict and limit your happiness to a specific event or to a specific achievement that literally is essentially only one moment, when I could enjoy myself, or I could be proud of myself, or I could be happy during the process. So habits are essentially small things that you do every single day that compound into something greater in the long run. And as the book says, it's better to get 1% better each day for a year than to get 1% worse each day for a year. Change from the inside versus change from the outside. So before I tried to set new habits or routines, I first had to ask myself a really deep and important question, which was, who do I want to be? And I'll be honest, guys, like when I got to this point in the book, I genuinely took like a 2-week break from reading that book to just genuinely have a meeting with myself, take time out to like sit down and actually like come up with an answer for this question, because it's a really deep and personal question. And I feel like we also don't really ask ourselves this question when we're setting our goals or whatever. We're normally asking ourselves, what do I want to have, or where do I want to be? But it's never, who do I want to be? It's never, focusing on like the internal. It's never focused on character. It's always focusing on like the external. But what's actually interesting is that you're actually most likely to stick with something, or commit to something, if it actually aligns with your beliefs, with your views and your values. So like, I'll give a quick example of myself. So I was that child who did like athletics their whole schooling career. I was that athletic child, primary school, high school, those are like my victory years for me personally. So so I always grew up doing sports and stuff like that. And then when I got to first year, I still kind of did sports. I did boxing for the year, but then when I got to second year, I did absolutely nothing. I went into full couch potato mode. I did no sport whatsoever. And I feel like I kind of got into that state because I didn't really view myself as an athlete anymore. Like, I didn't view myself as, you know, someone who needs to be fit at all anymore, because I didn't have driving forces to actually keep fit. And like, you know, when you're in school, it's the athletics competitions that will make you want to train. It's the, you know, the netball matches that will make you want to train. You know, they'll motivate you to train. But then now that I left school, I didn't really have those things that forced me to commit, you know, to exercising. So when I actually did ask myself that question, I decided that, you know what, I want to be a healthy person. Like, I just don't want to be that person who like runs out of breath when they're like walking up a few flights of stairs. Like, that's just not cute for me as a person, okay? I just don't like seeing myself in such an unfit state. So that's when I decided, you know what, I want to focus on being healthy, and part of being healthy is exercising. So even though my journey this 2020 with exercising has been very up and down, when I got to this point in the book and had like kind of this mindset shift, it kind of made me now be more serious about exercising, and just really committing fully to it. So even on days when I don't feel like exercising, I'll still push myself to exercise, because I'm not focusing on a dream body or like, you know, a physical feature that I want to have, but I'm now focusing on my health, and that's important to me. My health is important to me, so I'm going to commit to exercising. And I must say, now that I've had this mindset shift with exercising and stuff, I'm not always consistent, but it's better than it was at the beginning. And what we love to see is growth. Out with the old and in with the new. Okay, so once you figured out who do you want to be, it's time to do a little bit of self-observation. So since you're now set on your desired identity and who you want to be, you can now kind of analyze yourself and observe your current habits and kind of remove the ones that don't really contribute to the person that you want to be. So again, when I got to this point of the book, like I took like a week or two to just sit down and observe my behavior and analyze, okay, what am I actually doing with my time? And what I personally found for myself is that I was spending way too much time on social media, guys. My screen time used to look scary. Like, I'd spend so much time on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and I just didn't like that I was spending so much time on these things, because first of all, they don't really give anything back to me. They take way more than they give to me, and I could actually be spending all of this time doing something that is actually beneficial and that contributes to the person that I'm trying to be. So again, after you've taken the time to kind of observe yourself and actually, you know, see your patterns and your behaviors, you can then now incorporate some of the new habits you've been thinking about and incorporate them into your daily routine. And here are some ways that you can actually make your habits stick and last. Make your habits obvious and easy. So in terms of making your habits obvious, you're most likely to do something when it's right in front of you or it's easily accessible. So a practical example is what I like to do is I like to keep my exercise mat kind of next to my bed or just in an area around my bed, so that as soon as I wake up, it kind of serves as like a visual reminder that, yo, Tench, we need to exercise this morning, because I actually like to exercise in the morning now. But yeah, it just serves as like a visual reminder, so that after I'm done with like my morning things and stuff like that, I know next I am going to exercise. And yeah, it just makes my life honestly 10 times easier. Okay, so in terms of making it easy, what you can do is apply this technique called habit stacking. And essentially, it's pretty much just doing your new habit on top of one of your current habits. And if you think about it, it actually does make sense, because oftentimes when you set a new habit or whatever, we just try to, like, you know, squeeze in this new activity in a random time of the day, and we expect ourselves to actually commit to it. But if you think about it, we're kind of not used to doing it. It kind of goes against the grain of like what our bodies are used to, and that's why we might start strong for the first few weeks even, but then in the long run we're like, whatever. Whereas when you try to do your new habit right after your current habit, it kind of makes your life easier, because you're just trying to do something right after doing something your body's already used to. So now you can just kind of like squeeze it in there, and you're most likely to stick to it. So for example, for me, as soon as I wake up, what I like to do is to do my morning stretches. So I've always had like neck and shoulder pains, and I won't lie, I do mostly contribute to it because I don't take care of myself. But so yeah, what I'm trying to do is to honestly always wake up in the morning and just to stretch my neck and my shoulders, and the new habit obviously would be stretching, and the current habit would be waking up. And to be honest, for the most part, I've been pretty consistent with waking up and doing my stretches, because literally as soon as I wake up, the first thing I do literally, and the first thing that I think of is I have to do my stretches before I get out of bed, or essentially before I like do something hectic or start my day. Whew, guys, it's so hot. Yo, it's hot, guys, but I love summer. So secondly, make the habit attractive. So I feel like this is also quite obvious. The more attractive or more appealing something is, the more likely you are to engage or to actually do it. And the same applies with your habits. So what you can do, so after you do a certain habit, or even while you're doing a habit, you can kind of do something that you enjoy to kind of make the process of doing the habit more enjoyable for yourself. Okay, so for me, what I like to do is that while I'm exercising, I like to listen to a podcast. My favorite podcast, or like one of my top podcasts, is Bad Already. I listen to that the most out of all the podcasts I listen to. And yeah, it's pretty thought-provoking, so if you want to check that out, you can. But yeah, while I exercise, I do that because it kind of makes the process of exercising and doing all of those intense life-defeating exercises more bearable. Or sometimes when I'm cleaning, what I also try to do is just to also watch like a YouTube video while I'm cleaning in that time. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really exciting about cleaning, so might as well get some entertainment from like one of my favorite YouTubers or something like that. And I feel like that works best for me because it kind of limits my consumption of like podcasts, because I also don't want to like over just consume. So I know that while I'm exercising, I'm listening to my podcast of the day. But I feel like it's kind of like a win-win situation as well if you're also trying to maybe limit your consumption of a certain thing, because too much of something can be, you know, not that great. So yeah, that's just a thought. And then lastly, guys, make it satisfying. So guys, I've said it before and I'll say it again. There is nothing more satisfying than being able to tick off something off your to-do list. And this principle pretty much also applies to habit tracking. So I've kind of become like, you know, a bullet journal hun and stuff like that. So when I was on Pinterest and stuff, I'd always see people like, you know, doing these spreads on like habit trackers, and I'd be like, who does habit tracking? Like, that's weird. But now I get it. I get it why people do these things and like have habit trackers and stuff, because it's really a nice way to kind of keep yourself accountable, to remember your habits that you need to do, and like to kind of like force yourself or like make sure that you do the habits. And habit trackers are also really nice for you to like look back on, like maybe at the end of the month you can see all the habits that you've done. You know, you can see okay, maybe I need to make adjustments because I wasn't doing this habit as much as I needed to, or you know, you can like observe which habits are really working well, or even see maybe just some habits that you don't want to do anymore. So I think the idea of just using habit trackers is really nice, and it's a really nice way just to track your progress and to essentially give yourself a pat on the back for being consistent, or at the bare minimum just, you know, committing to doing all these things for yourself essentially. And yeah, it's really nice to just pretty much tick off all the habits that you've done as you go through each day. Alright guys, that is it from me, and I just want to wish you guys all the best for your 2021 plans, your 2021 endeavors. I hope that it goes well for you guys, and I'm rooting for you. Tenj is rooting for you, so all the best with that, guys. And I just wanted to share this with you guys because I personally have been using this approach to things for a few months now, and I can personally say I like it. I was telling my brother the other day that I don't know what it is, but just having like a routine, or like, you know, some systems and things that you have in place that you do on a daily basis just kind of makes you feel like, you know, you have your stuff together. Like it makes you feel like, you know, you're taking the small necessary steps, and you can kind of actionably see them for yourself. Yeah, that's just something that I will say. I just also want to say that remember that it's not overnight. You won't see the results like after a day. You won't see the results, you know, after a week. It's genuinely just consistent effort, consistent doing the baby steps day by day. And then by the time you look back a year from now, by the time you look back 2 years from now, you'll actually see that even though in the moment it didn't feel like I did something major, or I did something that was big, or it felt like I'm not going anywhere, you will actually be surprised to see how far you've come, and you'll actually be reaping the fruits of all the hard work that you've been doing so far. Okay guys, so anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to give this video a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. And if you want to subscribe, you're more than welcome. If you don't want to, no hard feelings. And I'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Bye.